good shares and there's bad shares, like there's good shares,
There's
good
another
property
reason to
and
need
bad
a book
property.
coach, isn't it? Like, which shares do we invest in, yes?
But in general terms, now is a good time to buy in the share market, and then you'd hang in there for the next few years as the cycle goes around. But
I believe that you have some really interesting advice about buying shares. About buying, yes. Would you like to share that with our viewers? This is very interesting. It'd be something that perhaps many of you have never thought of in relation to wealth creation.
It's funny. It's funny because I've been giving this advice for a while, and I didn't realise it was so unusual until I got out and talked to more and more people. And when I address an audience of 1,000 people, and they all say, "Look, we've never heard that idea before," I go, "Really?" Because I just thought it was that was.
What would you like to share with us?
One of the ideas that I share is invest where you spend, and I guess for the ladies that's really a no-brainer, because if you're going to this particular shop and you're buying your groceries at Coles, you're spending money at Coles every week, you like the layout, you like the products, you like the checkout chicks, why would you go and invest your shares in Woolworths? I mean, what brought it home to me several years ago when Telstra first came out and Telstra listed their shares on the stock exchange, and they were about $3 or $4 at the time, and I bought a few and everybody bought a few, and a lot of people went out and bought shares in Telstra, and the Telstra shares went from $4 up to about $9. And at about the same time, Telstra started closing down a few services. They started outsourcing. So the call centres were in India and these sort of things. And I grew very dissatisfied with their service and decided I was going to change all my phones across to Optus. So at the same time, I sold my Telstra shares at about $9, changed all my phones across to Optus, and then bought shares in Optus. And probably it took another 6 or 12 months before other people started to grow dissatisfied with Telstra's service. And people started to leave Telstra. And, of course, Telstra's profit dropped, which meant that their share price dropped from about $9 back down to about the $5 mark. And at the same time, Optus shares went up.
That means you got out at the right time and you got in at the right time. Is that what you're telling us?
Exactly.
Right.
So, and I guess the similar thing happened with Coles and Woolworths a few years ago. Coles used to be a quite expensive share compared to Woolworths, and Woolworths changed a few things, changed their marketing, changed their approach, and became the more popular supermarket. So I guess if it's good enough to spend your money there, then why not invest your money there as well? And you will know that if you never shop at Katie's, or if you never shop at Miller's, or if you never shop wherever, then sooner or later those guys are not going to make a profit, which means that they're not going to be a particularly good investment. But if you drive past the shop every day, or if you shop there and your friends shop there, sooner or later they're going to make a profit. And that's going to be the area to invest into.
Excellent. Well, it's common sense, isn't it? It's just common sense, but it's amazing how much common sense quite often just isn't there. So that's a great idea. And I'd have to admit, I've never heard of it until I heard you mention it either. Fantastic. So I believe you've written a book. Would you like to just show us your book and tell us just a few words about the background to it?
The book, Who's Taking Your Money and How to Get Some of It Back. It's got a lot about the economic clock in there. It's also got 5 years of research into basically who's taking your money and how to get it back. A lot of people are very surprised when they have a look and find out which organisations are actually which organisations. I'll steal my copy in here because this is my well-thumbed copy.
With all the little post-it notes?
Yeah, with all the little post-it notes. Just pick one example here. So if you're insuring your car with double AMI and you don't like their premiums and you think, well, I might call Australian Pensioners Insurance if I'm over 55, I can get a better deal from there, or I might call Shannon's, or I might call Royal & Son, or I might call Astron. There's like 15 different companies that you can ring, but they're all owned by the one company. So it really doesn't matter who you call. Maybe the premium's going to be $5 cheaper here or $7 dearer there. But at the end of the day, all that money that you're giving to the insurance company is ending up in the hands of one company. So, again, if they're good enough to insure with, why not invest into the company and follow the trail of the money? So one of the big things in the last few years has been with the advent of China and these sort of things, we're getting a lot more cheaper plasma screen TVs and cheap DVD players and this sort of stuff. But we're sending our money to Harvey Norman to buy the goods. So Harvey Norman or Retrovision or whoever is getting a bit of the sales there, whichever shop you prefer to invest in or whichever shop you shop in. But then Gerry Harvey actually has to send the money across to China to pay for the goods. Then, of course, the Chinese, who don't manage to have a lot of steel on their hands, they send the money back to Australia and they buy the steel and the copper and all of the materials for the DVD player from Australia. So that's why in the last couple of years we've actually seen companies such as BHP and Rio Tinto go up by more than 100% in Australia, because you follow where the money's going and where it's going to end up. And that's
so it's all back to the cycle, isn't it?
A lot of this stuff in here is actually following the money trail. And as I said, I've spent 5 years researching where the money goes, which companies actually are taking your money. And some of the companies, it's astonishing what they actually make and what they're into. But then finding out about the clock as well. So it's really, really 2 books in one.
So the title of the book is Who's Taking Your Money? And Jeremy, where can we get a copy of that if we'd like one?
The book you can get from Angus and Robertson, Bookworld, Koorong, Book City, and you can also get online, 24hourwealthcoach.com.
Would you just like to repeat that? Whereabouts?
Yeah, www.24hourwealthcoach.com.
Right.
It's actually $2 cheaper than in the bookstores, but
Oh, excellent.
bargain. Local bookstores should have a copy.
Excellent.
I also do autograph them for people who buy them on the web as well,
Okay.
so rather than the bookshop.
Well, if you want your autographed copy, get your copy from the web.
I'll just throw in too, sorry. I actually put in a money-back guarantee on the book, which another thing that I don't know of anybody else who actually does that. So if anybody reads the book doesn't like it, I'll give them their money back, even if it's autographed to Freddie or Wilma or whoever. I'll give them their money back on the book. So far, one person has called me on that.
Oh, isn't that excellent?
But funnily enough, the person who actually wanted their money back later on, she bought another copy and gave it to a friend of hers. So I thought, well, she kind of likes it, just wasn't for her.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's right. Everything isn't for everyone, is there? Now, also I noticed when I was reading your book that there's a lot of emphasis put on mindset. Would you like to tell me what's